"Don't touch that medicine, Navajo girl," Mr. Foster's voice roared, his cold eyes locking onto Tala. Her hand trembled, gripping a small bottle, the only hope for a Navajo child fighting for breath next door. The storage room's flickering light cast eerie shadows, her heart thumping wildly. If caught, her grandmother Chooli's lifeline of medical aid would be severed, dooming her. Yet without this medicine, the child would die before dawn. Foster loomed closer, demanding a public apology for stealing before the clinic staff, threatening devastating consequences if she refused. Would Tala sacrifice her pride to save her grandmother, or risk everything for the child's life? Caught between love and honor, what choice could she make in this cruel trap? Tala, a 27-year-old Navajo woman, stood tall despite the weight of her world in 1915 New Mexico. Her dark eyes burned with determination as she tended to her grandmother, Chooli, a frail 65-year-old battling a lung disease born from the harsh life of the reservation. Tala taught herself nursing, pouring her heart into caring for her people at a government-run clinic where Navajo patients were treated like burdens. The air was thick with prejudice, the shelves bare of proper medicine, and every day was a fight to save lives under the scornful gaze of white doctors. Torn between protecting Chooli and serving her community, Tala's courage shone through, even as the unjust system tried to break her spirit. Her love for her grandmother and her people fueled her, but the constant discrimination left her heart heavy with anger and fear. The clinic was silent except for the ragged breaths of a Navajo boy, burning with fever on a worn cot. Tala knelt beside him, her hands steady as she wiped his sweaty forehead, but her heart raced with dread. The boy's mother watched, eyes wide with fear, whispering prayers in Navajo. Tala checked the medicine cabinet, her stomach sinking empty vials and expired bottles stared back. She remembered rumors of real medicine hidden in the locked storage room, reserved for white patients. With the boy's life slipping away, Tala's resolve hardened. She slipped into the dark storage room, her fingers trembling as she pried open a crate, finding a single vial of proper medicine. As she tucked it into her apron, guilt and fear gnawed at her, but the boy's shallow breaths echoed in her mind. She whispered to herself, "I have to save him," and hurried back, praying no one would notice her absence. "Thief!" Mr. Foster's shout shattered the quiet as he loomed in the storage room doorway, his face twisted with rage. Tala froze, the vial burning in her pocket, her pulse pounding in her ears. Foster stormed toward her, yanking the bottle from her hand, his voice dripping with contempt. "You Navajos think you can take what's ours," he accused her of stealing, his words cutting like knives. Then came the ultimatum. Apologize publicly, or Chooli's medical aid would be cut. Tala's anger flared. She'd saved a life, not stolen, but fear for her grandmother choked her. She stood silent, fists clenched, as Foster smirked, knowing he held power over her. Her mind raced. An apology would shame her before her people, but losing Chooli's medicine could kill her. Torn between fury and despair, Tala felt the weight of his cruelty crushing her spirit. Whispers spread like wildfire through the reservation by morning. Tala felt eyes on her as she walked to the clinic, some Navajo neighbors muttering about her betrayal. Had she sided with the white doctors? The distrust stung, each word a dagger to her heart. At the clinic, Kanti, her best friend, pulled her aside, her voice firm but kind. "Stay strong, Tala. They don't know the truth. We'll fight this." Her words were a lifeline, easing Tala's isolation. Later, little Mai, an 8-year-old patient with bright eyes, tugged at Tala's sleeve, chattering about a bird she'd seen. Her innocence warmed Tala's heavy heart, reminding her why she fought. But the rumors grew louder, and Tala overheard a nurse scoff. "She's trouble." Clinging to Kanti's advice and Mai's smile, Tala vowed to prove her loyalty, though doubt gnawed at her resolve. The clinic courtyard buzzed with tension as Foster gathered the staff, his voice booming for Tala to step forward. "Admit your crime, girl," he sneered, his eyes daring her to defy him. Tala stood tall, her heart pounding, feeling the weight of every stare, some curious, some hostile. He demanded her apology, his words laced with mockery, calling her a thief before her own people. Rage surged through Tala. She wouldn't bow to his cruelty. "I took medicine to save a child," she declared, her voice steady despite her trembling hands. "I'll keep saving my people, no matter what you do." The crowd gasped, and Foster's face darkened. He ordered her watched at all times, isolating her further. As she walked away, her defiance burned bright, but fear crept in. How could she fight alone? Yet the thought of her people's suffering fueled her courage. Tala rushed home to find Chooli coughing violently, blood staining her handkerchief. The sight hit Tala like a punch, her knees weak with panic. She adjusted Chooli's pillows, her hands shaking as she offered water, but the old woman's breaths were shallow. "There's no medicine left," Tala whispered, despair clawing at her. Chooli's frail hand squeezed hers, her voice soft but firm. "You're fighting for all of us, Tala. Don't stop." Her grandmother's words sparked a flicker of hope amid the grief. Tala sat by her side, wiping tears, vowing to find a way. The weight of Foster's threats loomed, but Chooli's strength anchored her. "I won't let him win," Tala promised, her resolve hardening. As night fell, she kissed Chooli's forehead, determined to defy the system that let her people suffer, no matter the cost. The moon hung low as Tala slipped through the reservation shadows, her heart pounding with each step toward Hastien's hogan. She knocked softly, glancing over her shoulder, fearing Foster's spies. Hastiin, the Navajo elder, welcomed her with a warm but weary smile, his eyes sharp with wisdom. Over a flickering fire, he shared stories of their people's struggles, land stolen, promises broken, lives lost to neglect. "You carry our strength, Tala," he said, his voice steady, urging her to fight on. His words lit a fire in her chest, renewing her courage. But fear lingered. What if her actions endangered Chooli further? As she left, Hastiin pressed a small turquoise stone into her hand, a symbol of resilience. Tala clutched it tightly, her resolve strengthened, yet the weight of the risks ahead pressed heavily on her heart. She whispered a prayer for guidance, stepping back into the night. Tala returned to Hastien's hogan a few nights later, her nerves frayed from Foster's constant scrutiny. She needed more than encouragement now, she needed a plan. Hastiin sat her down, his voice low, recounting how Navajo warriors once outsmarted enemies with cunning. "Be like them," he urged, suggesting she find proof of the clinic's wrongs. His belief in her sparked hope, but Tala's hands trembled as she thought of Chooli's worsening cough. Hastiin shared a tale of a young Navajo woman who defied soldiers, her bravery echoing Tala's own fight. The story fueled her determination, yet the danger loomed large. Foster's threats were no idle words. As she left, Hastiin warned her to trust few, his words haunting her. Tala gripped the turquoise stone, her heart torn between newfound strength and the fear of betrayal lurking in the shadows. Tala's blood boiled as she cornered Clara in the clinic's supply room, the air thick with tension. "Why are our people dying from fake medicine?" she demanded, her voice sharp, eyes locked on Clara's cold gaze. Clara, the clinic manager, scoffed, her lips curling into a dismissive sneer, denying any wrongdoing. "You're imagining things," she snapped, turning away. But Tala noticed her hands fidget. The evasion fueled Tala's suspicions. Clara knew something. She pressed harder, accusing the clinic of hoarding real medicine for white patients. But Clara's icy glare silenced her. "Watch yourself, Tala," Clara warned, her voice low and menacing. Tala's heart raced with anger, but a spark of defiance burned brighter. She'd uncover the truth, no matter the cost. As Clara stormed out, Tala vowed to dig deeper, her resolve unshaken despite the growing danger. Little Mai's giggle broke through Tala's heavy thoughts as she sat by the girl's cot, the clinic quiet for once. Mai, her eyes bright despite her illness, held out a crumpled drawing stick figure in a nurse's apron labeled Navajo Hero. "That's you, Tala," she chirped, her smile wide. Tala's throat tightened, tears prickling as she traced the childish lines. Mai babbled about how Tala saved people, her innocence piercing Tala's heart. The drawing felt like a promise, a reminder of why she fought. "I'll make things better, Mai," Tala whispered, hugging the girl gently. Mai's trust lifted her spirits, but the weight of her people's suffering pressed down. As she tucked the drawing into her pocket, Tala felt a surge of purpose she couldn't let Mai down. Her heart swelled with love and duty, pushing her to keep going. Tala felt eyes on her every move as she cleaned a patient's bed, Foster's orders ringing in her ears. "Watch her closely," he'd told the staff, and now nurses trailed her, their whispers sharp with suspicion. She reached for a bandage, only to find a guard blocking the supply closet, his stare cold. The pressure crushed her spirit. Could she help anyone like this? At lunch, Kanti slipped her a note. "I'm with you." The words were a lifeline, easing her loneliness. Tala worked on, her hands steady but her heart racing, knowing one wrong move could cost her everything. She caught a nurse reporting her actions to Clara, deepening her sense of isolation. Yet Kanti's quiet nod across the room sparked hope. Tala squared her shoulders, determined to outsmart Foster's trap, her resolve burning despite the suffocating watch. The fire in Hastien's hogan crackled as Tala sat across from him, her heart heavy with worry. His weathered face grew grim as he leaned forward, voice low. "The clinic's medicine, it's strange," he said, describing shipments of useless pills arriving for Navajo patients. He suspected the government sent fake drugs to cut costs, letting their people die. Tala's breath caught, her mind reeling at the betrayal how many had suffered because of this. Hastien's eyes burned with quiet anger, urging her to seek the truth. She clutched the turquoise stone he'd given her, shock turning abuse into resolve. As she left, the weight of his words sank in, fueling her determination to investigate. Yet fear gnawed at her what-if exposing this endangered Chooli. Tala glanced at the stars, whispering a vow to uncover the clinic's secrets, her heart pounding with purpose and dread. Tala pulled Kanti into a quiet corner of the clinic, her voice urgent as she shared Hastien's revelation about fake medicine. Kanti's eyes widened, her face hardening with anger. "We need proof," she said, and they agreed to sneak into the storage room for samples. They plotted in whispers, planning to break in at midnight when the guards were lax. Kanti warned of the risks Foster's wrath, or worse, but Tala's jaw set firm. "We can't let our people die," she said, her voice fierce. They mapped out the storage room's layout, memorizing the lock's quirks. Tala's heart raced with hope, but doubt crept in. Could they pull this off? Kanti squeezed her hand, her steady gaze grounding Tala. As they parted, Tala felt a surge of courage, ready to risk everything to expose the truth, though the danger loomed large. A chill wind swept through the reservation as Tala lingered near the clinic after her shift, her nerves on edge. A shadow moved in the darkness, and her heart-lapida-cloaked figure paused, then vanished. She found a scrap of paper tucked into a fence, scrawled with, "Find the truth in the storage." Tala's pulse quickened. Was this a trap or an ally? She hid the note, her mind racing with suspicion, but a spark of hope flickered. Someone else knew. The figure's fleeting presence felt like a sign, urging her forward. She glanced at the clinic, its windows dark, and clutched the note tightly. Fear battled with curiosity, but Tala resolved to keep this secret, sensing a hidden partner in her fight. As she walked home, the night felt alive with possibility, her heart torn between caution and trust. Midnight cloaked the clinic in silence, as Tala and Kanti crept toward the storage room, their breaths shallow. Tala's hand shook as she picked the lock, the click sounding like a gunshot in the quiet. Inside, they scanned shelves, finding vials labeled with unfamiliar names, their contents powdery and wrong. Tala's stomach-churned Hastiin was right. They pocketed samples, moving swiftly, but a creaking floorboard froze them. Kanti signaled to hide, and they crouched behind crates, hearts pounding as a guard passed by. They slipped out, mailing the samples to a lab outside the reservation, hope surging in Tala's chest. "This could change everything," she whispered to Kanti, her eyes bright. But as they parted, fear returned. What if Foster found out? Tala clutched the turquoise stone, praying the samples would reveal the truth, her heart alight with fragile optimism. Tala's blood ran cold as she heard boots stomping toward her in the clinic's hallway, Foster's voice barking her name. Yiska, a Navajo worker, had betrayed her, his eyes avoiding hers as Foster accused her of tampering with the storage. He'd seen her and Kanti trading their secret for a handful of coins. Tala's heart sank. Her trust shattered. How could one of her own do this? Foster's men grabbed her, dragging her toward his office, but Kanti appeared, creating a distraction by knocking over a tray. Tala broke free, sprinting into the night, her lungs burning. She hid behind a shed, tears stinging as Yiska's betrayal cut deep. Kanti found her, whispering, "We're not done yet." Tala's anger flared, but Kanti's loyalty anchored her. She wiped her tears, vowing to keep fighting, though the sting of betrayal and the threat of capture weighed heavily on her heart. Tala's heart thundered as she cornered Yiska behind the clinic, her eyes blazing with betrayal. "How could you sell us out?" she hissed, her voice sharp, fists clenched. Yiska's shoulders slumped, his gaze dropping to the dirt, shame etched on his face. He stammered, admitting he took Foster's money to feed his starving family, his voice cracking with regret. Tala's anger wavered, pity stirring as she saw his desperation. "You hurt our people," she said. Softer now, but firm, she offered him a chance to make amends, help her expose the clinic's lies. Yiska nodded, tears in his eyes, promising to aid her. Tala's heart wrestled with trust, but she saw sincerity in his remorse. As they parted, she felt a flicker of hope. Though doubt lingered, could she rely on him? Her resolve hardened. She'd forgive, but not forget, determined to turn his betrayal into a weapon for justice. The clinic courtyard buzzed with tension as Foster stood on a crate, his voice booming. "Tala's a rebel." He pointed at her, his sneer cutting through the crowd, branding her a troublemaker before staff and patients. Tala's face burned, her pulse racing under the weight of accusing stares. Foster threatened to fire her, his words dripping with malice, knowing her income kept Chooli alive. She stood tall, chin raised, refusing to cower, but fear for her grandmother gnawed at her. A nurse muttered, "She's done for," deepening her isolation. Tala's defiance surged. She wouldn't let Foster break her. As he stormed off, she caught Kanti's encouraging nod, a small comfort. Her heart sank at the thought of Chooli's medicine running out, but she vowed to fight on, her spirit unyielding despite the looming threat of ruin. Tala sat by Chooli's bedside, her grandmother's frail hand trembling as she coughed, the room heavy with the scent of sickness. Chooli's eyes, though weak, sparkled as she spoke of Navajo ancestors, warriors who defied soldiers, women who protected their people. "You're like them, Tala," she whispered, her voice a soft anchor. She urged Tala to keep fighting, even if it cost everything. Tala's throat tightened, tears falling as she held Chooli's hand, the stories igniting her courage. The weight of her grandmother's faith lifted her spirit, pushing back despair. Chooli's cough worsened, and Tala adjusted her blanket, heart aching. "I'll make you proud," she promised, her voice thick with emotion. As Chooli drifted to sleep, Tala felt renewed, ready to tear down the clinic's lies, her love for her grandmother fueling her resolve. Kanti's whisper was urgent, as she pulled Tala into a storage closet, her eyes wide with discovery. She'd found a new shipment of medicinevials with fake labels, their contents chalky and useless. Kanti had snapped photos of the bottles, her hands shaking as she showed Tala the evidence. "This could ruin them," she said, voice low but fierce. Tala's heart leaped with hope these photos could prove the clinic's deceit. They hid the images in a safe spot, planning to send them to the lab. But fear crept in. What if Foster caught them? Kanti's steady gaze grounded Tala, reminding her of their shared fight. As they slipped back to work, Tala felt a surge of optimism, but the risk of discovery loomed, tightening her chest. She clutched the turquoise stone, praying this evidence would bring justice. A sleek carriage rolled into the reservation, and Mr. Reynolds, a high-ranking health official, stepped out, his smile polished but false. He toured the clinic, shaking hands and praising the staff, claiming to care for Navajo health. Tala watched, her stomach twisting as charm hid something sinister. Later she overheard him in Foster's office, his voice cold as he discussed hiding the fake medicine scheme with Foster and Clara. "No one will believe the Navajos," he sneered. Tala's blood boiled, her hands trembling as she pressed against the wall, heart racing with rage. She slipped away, undetected, but the words fueled her mission to expose him. Kanti met her gaze across the clinic, silently urging her on. Tala's resolve hardened. She'd bring Reynolds down, no matter the cost, though the scale of his power terrified her. The clinic felt like a prison as Foster's new orders echoed. Tala seized no patients except the girl. Only little Mai was allowed under her care, a cruel twist that cut Tala deep. Nurses turned away when she passed, their whispers sharp with disdain, calling her a troublemaker. Her cheeks burned with humiliation, each cold glance a stab to her pride. She caught a nurse smirking as she was assigned menial tasks, cleaning cots, scrubbing floors. Yet Kanti slipped her a secret smile, passing her a hidden note. "You're not alone." The words warmed Tala's heart, a faint light in her loneliness. Mai's giggles during a visit lifted her spirits, but the weight of isolation pressed hard. Tala squared her shoulders, vowing to keep fighting, her spirit bruised but unbroken, refusing to let Foster's cruelty snuff out her resolve. Tala's heart stopped as Chooli's cough turned violent, blood speckling her lips. She rushed to her grandmother's side, panic surging as Chooli's breaths grew shallow, her face pale. Tala fumbled with a vial from her hidden stash medicine she'd saved for emergencies, but it barely eased the coughing. Tears stung her eyes as she held Chooli's frail hand, whispering, "Stay with me." The room felt suffocating, the reality crashing down. The clinic's fake drugs were killing her grandmother. Tala's mind raced. She had to expose the truth to save others. Chooli's weak smile, urging her to be strong, pierced her heart. She adjusted the blankets, her hands trembling, and swore to fight harder. The fear of losing Chooli tore at her, but Tala's resolve sharpened. She'd tear down the clinic's lies, no matter the cost. Kanti's face was grim as she slipped Tala a letter in the clinic's back room, the lab's results clutched tightly. The words confirmed their worst fears. The clinic's medicine was fake or expired, useless at best, deadly at worst. Tala's blood boiled, her fists clenching as she imagined the lives lost to this betrayal. "They're murdering us," she whispered, her voice shaking with rage. Kanti nodded, her eyes fierce, but both knew exposing this was dangerous. Tala's mind spun. How could they make the world listen? She decided to seek Hastien's guidance, his wisdom her only anchor. The weight of the truth felt crushing, but it fueled her fire. As Kanti hid the letter, Tala's heart pounded with anger and purpose, determined to act, though the path ahead seemed impossibly steep. Tala knelt by Hastien's fire, her heart heavy as he spoke of Navajo heroesmen and women who fought soldiers in starvation, never yielding. His voice, steady and deep, wove tales of resilience, each word lifting Tala's spirit. "You're their legacy," he said, his eyes locked on hers, urging her to unite the community. He suggested a secret meeting to rally the Navajo, a bold plan that sparked hope in Tala's chest. She clutched the turquoise stone, its weight grounding her as she imagined her people standing together. Hastian's faith in her burned away doubt, but fear lingered. Foster's spies were everywhere. As she left, his final words echoed, "Be brave, Tala." Her heart swelled with renewed courage, and she began planning, determined to honor her ancestors' fight. Tala's stomach churned as she entered Reynolds' office, his polished smile chilling her blood. "You've been digging, haven't you?" he said, his voice low, venomous, revealing he knew of her investigation. He leaned closer, threatening Chooli's life if Tala didn't stop, his words like a blade to her heart. The room felt smaller, her breath shallow as fear gripped her. Chooli was all she had. Reynolds' cold eyes watched her squirm, his power suffocating. Yet Tala's defiance flared. She met his gaze, her voice steady. "I won't stop," his smirk faltered, but he waved her out, warning of consequences. As she left, her legs trembled, but her resolve hardened. Kanti's quiet nod outside the door steadied her. Tala vowed to keep fighting, her fear overshadowed by a burning need to bring Reynolds down. Tala's heart raced as she and Hastiin moved through the reservation under cover of dusk, whispering to trusted Navajo families about a secret meeting. They chose a hidden canyon, far from Foster's spies, to gather the community. Tala spent sleepless nights organizing evidence lab results, fake medicine labels, and Kanti's photosure hands trembling as she sorted the damning proof. She practiced her speech, her voice shaky but determined, imagining the crowd's reaction. Fear gnawed at her. What if Foster or Reynolds found out? Hastian's calm presence steadied her, his nod a silent promise of support. Tala clutched the turquoise stone, praying her people would unite. A neighbor warned her of rumors circling Foster's men were watching. Her stomach twisted, but she pushed forward, driven by the need to expose the clinic's lies, her hope battling the dread of betrayal. Yiska's shadow loomed as he approached Tala near the reservation's edge, his voice low and urgent. "I'll make it right," he said, offering to steal documents from Foster's office to prove the clinic's deceit. Tala's eyes narrowed, her trust scarred by his earlier betrayal, but his guilt-ridden face softened her resolve. He spoke of his shame, his family's hunger, begging for a chance to help. Tala hesitated, her heart torn but agreed, demanding he act swiftly. "Don't fail me again," she warned, her voice sharp. Yiska nodded, his eyes pleading for forgiveness, and slipped away. Tala's mind churned with doubt. Could she rely on him? Yet a spark of hope flickered. His help could tip the scales. She gripped her turquoise stone, her caution warring with the desperate need for allies, her determination unwavering. The canyon glowed with torchlight as Tala stood before the gathered Navajo, her voice trembling but clear. She held up fake medicine vials, revealing the lab's findings proof the clinic was poisoning their people. Gasps rippled through the crowd, then shouts of anger as families shared stories of loved ones lost. The community rallied, vowing to stand with Tala, their unity igniting her hope. But Yiska lingered at the edge, his face conflicted, and Tala's heart sank. She saw him slip away, suspicion flaring. Unbeknownst to her, he whispered their plans to Foster, though doubt gnawed at him. Tala's speech ended with a call to action, her spirit soaring as hands raised in support. Yet fear lingered. Had Yiska betrayed them again? She pushed the thought aside, fueled by her people's strength, ready to fight, though unease shadowed her triumph. Chaos erupted as Foster's men stormed the canyon, their boots thundering, rifles gleaming under the moonlight. "Disperse, or you're all arrested," Foster bellowed, his voice cutting through the Navajo's shouts. Tala's heart pounded as she urged families to scatter, her eyes scanning for Hastiin. The soldiers grabbed several men, dragging them away, while Tala ducked behind a boulder, her breath ragged. Foster's men seized Chooli, claiming she needed treatment at the clinic, and Tala's world tilted her grandmother was too weak for this. She tried to run after them, but Kanti pulled her back, whispering, "We'll get her." Despair clawed at Tala as she watched the torches fade, her worst fear unfolding. Tears stung her eyes, but rage surged she wouldn't lose Chooli. Hiding in the dark, Tala vowed to strike back, her heart shattered yet defiant. Tala crept toward the clinic under a starless sky, her pulse racing as she slipped past patrolling guards. She had to find Chooli before it was too late. Inside, the halls were eerily quiet, her footsteps muffled as she checked every room. Her heart-sinking Chooli was gone. A locked door marked isolation caught her eye, and she pried it open, finding records of patients hidden away. One note confirmed her fears. Chooli was held in a secret ward, her condition critical. Tala's hand shook, rage and terror battling within her. A guard's voice nearby forced her to flee, her escape narrow as she hid in an alley. "I'll save you, grandmother," she whispered, her voice fierce despite the tears. The thought of facing Foster head-on terrified her, but Tala's love for Chooli burned brighter, pushing her to plan a rescue, no matter the danger. Tala's heart burned as she tracked Yiska to a quiet corner of the reservation, her eyes blazing with fury. "You betrayed us again!" she snapped, her voice trembling, knowing he'd tipped Foster about the meeting. Yiska's face crumpled, his hands raised in surrender, confessing his regret. Foster's threats had scared him. His voice broke as he begged for another chance, swearing he'd make it right. Tala's anger battled her pity. She saw his fear, his shame. She demanded he steal documents from Reynolds' office to prove the bribery, her tone sharp but hopeful. Yiska nodded, his eyes wet, promising to act. Tala's heart wrestled with trust, her instincts screaming caution, but she needed his help. As he slipped away, she clutched her turquoise stone, torn between hope for his redemption and dread of another betrayal, her resolve steeled for the fight ahead. Yiska's hand shook as he crept into Reynolds' office, the clinic dark and silent. He rifled through drawers, finding papers detailing bribes from drug companies' proof of the fake medicine scheme. His heart pounded, sweat beading on his brow, as he stuffed the documents into his shirt. He slipped out, meeting Tala in an alley, his voice urgent as he handed her the papers. "This is everything," he whispered, relief in his eyes. But a shadow moved. Reynolds appeared, his face twisted with rage, a knife glinting. Before Tala could react, Reynolds struck, and Yiska fell, blood pooling beneath him. Tala stifled a scream, fleeing as Reynolds shouted for guards, her heart shattered, guilt crashing over her. Yiska had died for her cause. She clutched the documents, tears streaming, vowing his sacrifice wouldn't be in vain, though self-blame tore at her soul. Tala stumbled through the forest, branches clawing at her as Reynolds' men scoured the reservation, their shouts echoing. Her lungs burned, fear driving her deeper into the trees, the documents hidden in her cloak. She collapsed by a stream, her body trembling, Yiska's death replaying in her mind. Kanti found her at dawn, her face etched with worry, bringing little Mai, whose small hand squeezed Tala's. "You're our hero," Mai said, her voice soft, lifting Tala's broken spirit. Kanti shared a plan to smuggle the documents out, her determination infectious. Tala wiped her tears, her resolve reigniting. She'd fight for Yiska, for Chooli, for Mai. The distant bark of dogs spurred her to move, her heart racing but steady, ready to outwit her hunters and expose the truth. Tala's hands trembled as she passed Yiska's blood-stained documents to Kanti under a moonlit tree, her voice urgent. "Get these to a journalist," she whispered, hope flickering despite her fear. Kanti nodded, her eyes fierce, promising to find a trustworthy reporter outside the reservation. Tala's mind churned with worry. Chooli's fate was unknown, and the thought twisted her heart. She imagined the headlines, exposing the fake medicine, saving her people, but doubt crept in. What if the papers were lost? Kanti hid the documents in her bag, her quiet strength grounding Tala. As they parted, Tala prayed the truth would break free, her heart heavy with grief for Chooli and Yiska. She clutched her turquoise stone, the weight of her mission fueling her, though uncertainty gnawed at her courage. Tala's hands trembled as she passed Yiska's blood-stained documents to Kanti under a moonlit tree, her voice urgent. "Get these to a journalist," she whispered, hope flickering despite her fear. Kanti nodded, her eyes fierce, promising to find a trustworthy reporter outside the reservation. Tala's mind churned with worry. Chooli's fate was unknown, and the thought twisted her heart. She imagined the headlines exposing the fake medicine, saving her people, but doubt crept in. What if the papers were lost? Kanti hid the documents in her bag, her quiet strength grounding Tala. As they parted, Tala prayed the truth would break free, her heart heavy with grief for Chooli and Yiska. She clutched her turquoise stone, the weight of her mission fueling her, though uncertainty gnawed at her courage. Tala's heart sank as Kanti whispered the news. Foster had cornered little Mai in the clinic, his shadow looming over the frail girl. "Where's Tala hiding?" he growled, his voice cold, threatening to lock Mai in isolation if she didn't talk. Mai, only 8, stood firm, her small fists clenched, refusing to betray Tala. Her bravery stunned the nurses watching, but Foster's glare promised trouble. Kanti overheard Mai's trembling but defiant, "I don't know," and rushed to tell Tala. Guilt crashed over Tala's shade, put Mai in danger. She imagined Mai's scared eyes, her own chest tightening with shame. Tala vowed to protect her, planning to draw Foster's attention away. As she hid in the forest, Mai's courage fueled her, but fear for the girl's safety gnawed at her. Tala clutched her turquoise stone, determined to shield Mai, her heart heavy with responsibility. Clara's sharp eyes followed Kanti through the clinic, her suspicion like a storm cloud. She'd noticed Kanti's quiet moments away from work, accusing her of aiding Tala. "You're too close to that troublemaker," Clara snapped, ordering nurses to watch Kanti's every move. Kanti kept her face calm, but her heart raced, knowing one slip could doom them. She sneaked a note to Tala, hidden in a bandage roll, updating her on Foster's plans and Mai's bravery. Tala, reading it in her forest hideout, felt a surge of gratitude but dread Kanti was risking everything. Clara questioned Kanti again, her voice icy, but Kanti deflected with quick lies. Tala's worry grew. Losing Kanti would break her. She prayed for her friend's safety, her resolve hardening to act fast, though the weight of endangering Kanti pressed heavily on her conscience. Tala's breath hitched as she slipped into the clinic's isolation ward, the air thick with antiseptic and fear. She found Chooli on a cot, her grandmother's face gaunt, her coughs weak and ragged. Tala's heart shattered. Chooli was barely alive, her eyes fluttering open to meet Tala's. "You're here," Chooli whispered, her voice a faint thread. Tala tried to lift her, desperation driving her, but Chooli was too weak. Footsteps echoed. Foster's guards stormed in, their shouts shattering the silence. Tala ducked under a bed, her pulse pounding, narrowly escaping as they searched. She fled into the night, tears streaming, unable to save Chooli. The image of her grandmother's frail form burned in her mind, fueling her rage. Tala swore to return, her love for Chooli outweighing her terror, though the guard's closeness left her shaking. Foster's voice was cold as he faced Tala in the clinic's courtyard, summoned under false pretenses. "Your grandmother's dead," he said, smirking, blaming her lung disease. Tala's world collapsed, her knees buckling as grief tore through her. She saw Chooli's gentle smile in her mind, now gone forever, and sobs racked her body. Foster turned away, indifferent, as nurses whispered in pity. Mai slipped to Tala's side, her small hand squeezing Tala's, whispering, "Keep fighting for us." The girl's words pierced Tala's despair, a faint spark in her darkness. She hugged Mai, her heart shattered but stirred by duty. Tala stumbled home, clutching Chooli's shawl, the loss a gaping wound. Yet Mai's plea echoed, urging her to honor Chooli's memory by exposing the truth, her grief mingling with a fierce resolve. Tala knelt by Chooli's empty bed, her tears soaking the blanket, swearing to destroy the clinic's lies. "I'll make them pay, grandmother," she whispered, her voice raw with pain and fury. She sent a message to Hastiin, arranging a secret meeting to plan their final move. His reply, carried by a trusted neighbor, promised support, reigniting her hope. Tala's heart ached, Chooli's absence a constant stab, but her determination burned brighter. She envisioned Reynolds and Foster exposed, their crimes laid bare. Hastien's words, "Our people need you," echoed, steadying her. Tala packed her evidence, ready to act, though grief threatened to drown her. She gripped her turquoise stone, its weight anchoring her vow to fight, her pain and resolve forging a path forward, unyielding despite the sorrow. Tala's heart leaped as a cloaked figure emerged from the forest shadows, his voice low but urgent. "I'm with you," he said, revealing himself as a disguised pharmacist named Thomas, who'd been gathering evidence against the clinic. He showed Tala documents, letters, proving Reynolds took bribes to distribute fake medicine. Her eyes widened, hope surging. This could destroy the clinic's lies. Thomas explained his years of secret work, driven by guilt over Navajo deaths. Tala's grief for Chooli mingled with excitement. This was her chance. She agreed to join forces, though caution lingered. Could she trust him? Thomas's earnest gaze reassured her, and they planned to leak the evidence. As he vanished into the night, Tala clutched her turquoise stone, her heart alight with possibility, though fear of failure gnawed at her. She whispered Chooli's name, vowing to finish this fight. Tala huddled with Kanti and Thomas in a hidden cave, their whispers urgent as they pored over the damning documents. They agreed to send the evidence to a trusted journalist, hoping headlines would force justice. Tala's hands trembled as she packaged the papers. Her mind on Mai. Would this put the girl at risk? They planned a protest at the clinic to amplify the news, a bold move to demand real medicine. Kanti's fierce nod bolstered Tala's courage, but worry for Mai's safety gnawed at her. Thomas mapped out the protest route, his calm voice steadying them. Tala's heart raced with hope. This could save her people, but fear of Foster's retaliation loomed. As they parted, she prayed the plan would work, her resolve firm despite the weight of protecting Mai and honoring Chooli's memory. Tala stood before a crowd of Navajo in a moonlit canyon, her voice steady as she shared Chooli's death, her grief raw and powerful. "They killed her with fake medicine," she said, holding up the lab results, sparking fury in the crowd. Hastien's deep voice echoed her call, urging unity against the clinic. Families nodded, their faces set, promising to join the protest. Tala's heart swelled as children clutched parents' hands, inspired by her pain. She spoke of Mai's bravery, her words stirring pride and purpose. A woman offered to make banners, her eyes fierce. Tala's hope soared, but fear of Foster's spies lingered. As the crowd dispersed, Hastiin squeezed her shoulder, his faith anchoring her. Tala felt Chooli's spirit in the unity, her determination burning to lead her people forward, undaunted by the risks. Foster's face was a mask of rage as he gathered his men in the clinic's courtyard, barking orders to crush the coming protest. "Find Tala, no matter what," he roared, his voice dripping with venom, blaming her for the unrest. He stationed guards at every entrance, their rifles gleaming under lanterns. Clara nodded curtly, organizing supplies for the soldiers, but her eyes darted nervously. Doubts about Reynolds crept in. Foster interrogated a nurse, demanding information on Tala's allies, his threats chilling the air. A scout reported the Navajo's plans, fueling Foster's paranoia. Clara hesitated when asked to spy, her loyalty wavering. Foster's men patrolled the reservation, their presence a dark cloud. Tala, hiding nearby, overheard his plans, her heart pounding but her resolve unshaken, ready to face his wrath for her people's sake. Tala led a sea of Navajo toward the clinic, their banners high, demanding real medicine now. Her voice rang out, strong despite her racing heart, as the crowd chanted, their unity a tidal wave. Foster's soldiers formed a line, rifles raised, their shouts drowned by the Navajo's defiance. Tala stood at the front, her eyes locked on Foster's scowl, fear battling her courage. A woman beside her sang a Navajo song, lifting spirits. Mai's small figure appeared, waving from the crowd, her smile fueling Tala's hope. Guards pushed forward, but the community held firm, their voices unbroken. Tala's heart soared. This was their moment. She dodged a soldier's grab, moving through the crowd, her determination blazing. Though Foster's men loomed, Tala felt her people's strength, her fear overshadowed by the hope of justice, ready to fight until the truth prevailed. Tala's breath caught as Clara slipped into the protest's chaos, her face pale, pressing a folder into Tala's hands. "Take this," Clara whispered, her voice shaky, admitting she'd helped hide the fake medicine but feared prison. The folder held ledger's proof of Reynolds' bribes, more damning than Tala's evidence. Clara's eyes darted, confessing her role in the scheme, begging to make amends. Tala's heart wrestled with distrust, but the documents were gold. She accepted them, her voice firm. "This doesn't erase what you did." Clara nodded, guilt etched on her face, and vanished into the crowd. Tala tucked the folder under her cloak, hope surging these could seal Reynolds' fate. A soldier's shout nearby jolted her, but she moved swiftly, her resolve hardened by Clara's betrayal of her former ally, ready to use the evidence to end the clinic's lies. Tala's heart leaped as newspapers hit the reservation, bold headlines screaming, "Fake medicine kills Navajo." The journalist's article, fueled by Thomas's and Clara's documents, detailed the clinic's deadly scheme, shocking the nation. Reynolds and Foster faced investigations, their names tarnished as officials swarmed the clinic. Tala read the article in a hidden shack, her eyes wet with relief. Justice was close. Crowds gathered, whispering about the scandal, their anger validating her fight. Yet Chooli's absence ached, a hollow pain no victory could fill. Kanti hugged her, her smile fierce, but Tala's heart stayed heavy. A reporter approached, asking for her story, amplifying her hope. The truth was out, but Tala mourned silently, clutching her turquoise stone, her joy tempered by grief, determined to see the fight through for her people. Reynolds' carriage rattled toward the reservation's edge, his face pale as he fled the scandal. Tala and a group of Navajo blocked his path, their eyes fierce, banners raised. "You're not escaping," Tala shouted, her voice steady despite her pounding heart. Reynolds sneered, threatening her with ruin, his hand gripping a pistol. Tala stood firm, her defiance unwavering, accusing him of Chooli's death. Reporters arrived, their cameras flashing, and Foster's soldiers, seeing the press, scattered in fear. The Navajo closed in, their chants drowning Reynolds' protests. His bravado crumbled, his hands shaking as he dropped the weapon. Tala's heart raced with triumph, but Chooli's memory fueled her resolve. She stared him down, her voice cold. "You'll pay." The crowd's strength lifted her, her fear fading as justice loomed, ready to see him fall. Foster's shouts echoed as soldiers dragged him from the clinic, his wrists bound, the Navajo crowd cheering wildly. Tala faced him in the courtyard, her eyes blazing, her voice cutting through his defiance. "Your lies are over. Justice won." Foster spat insults, but his power was gone, his face ashen under the community's gaze. Reporters scribbled, capturing his downfall, while Hastiin nodded proudly at Tala. She felt a calm settle over her, the weight of her fight lifting. Though Chooli's loss stung deep, a nurse whispered, "You did it," her voice awed. Tala's heart swelled with quiet pride, but tears fell for her grandmother. She clutched her turquoise stone, the victory bittersweet, her spirit serene yet scarred, knowing her people were finally safe from Foster's cruelty. The reservation buzzed with new hope. As Reynolds and Foster were sentenced, their fake medicine scheme exposed to the world. Real medicine arrived, shelves stocked with proper drugs, and the clinic was reformed under fair leadership. Tala walked its halls as a nurse, her heart heavy with Chooli's absence but strong for her people. Mai, now healthy, ran to her, her laugh a bright spark, her recovery a testament to Tala's fight. "You're my hero," Mai said, hugging her, and Tala's eyes welled, her purpose renewed. Hastiin praised her at a community feast, calling her a warrior. Tala kept Chooli's shawl close, her grief a quiet companion, but her resolve unshaken. The Navajo thrived, their strength a beacon, and Tala's story inspired all. Her journey, a powerful cry for justice and healing, etched in the hearts of those who heard it.